Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of almost all ages, with parental consent, the Sick Twisted Minds at Sacrificial Pawn Productions brings you a new style horror film, like nothing you have seen before. There are no cops, no investigations. There is no backstory, no follow-up of the victims who were brutally tortured and murdered. Our story isn't about them. Normal Terror is about a single dad struggling to make ends meet. His son is his first priority. He goes to work, pays his bills, and is generally a great dad. The twist comes after he puts his son to bed. This is where he releases his stress. Some people do yoga, some hit the gym, some go for runs, some people paint on a canvas. An anonymous source once wrote on an abandoned asylum wall, "I never understood people until I took one apart just to see how it worked." If you are rear-ended in traffic, most people's thought runs to anger and their primal instincts of hurting the other party. Sam Neill does not have the ability to stop that primal instinct. Let us take you into the mind of a killer. Normal Terror is a concept from the mind of Sam Mason, who wrote, directed, produced, and is starring in this new age feature film.
Let's get slicing and dicing with Sir Sturdy horror fans. On this podcast, you will hear me and a guest do some movie reviews, random funny horror chats, and whatever else comes to mind. So tune in, kick back, relax, and always remember, I'll see you in your nightmares.
Well, just Jason's mask.
Welcome to another awesome, exciting episode of Horror with Sir Sturdy. I got my co-host again with me, Matt. How's it going?
Good. How's it going, man?
It's going great over here. And I got another Friday fan on here, ladies and gentlemen, by the name of Chase. Chase, how you doing over there?
I'm doing good. How are you all?
Great. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and I want you to come out here. I wanted you to come on here so you can discuss your movies. So I'd like you to kind of, tell us about the movies, tell us the titles and all that good stuff, and you can take it away.
Absolutely. I shot a movie 2 years ago called Payday, which is a crime drama. It's a hostage negotiation heist film. You can actually get it on Amazon Prime, and you can get it on Amazon.com as well as YouTube. It's $2.99 to rent on Amazon Prime, and it's $3.99 to rent on YouTube. I'm very. That's the first film that I've directed where I'm actually pretty happy with what we shot compared to my earlier previous films. I can't really go into much detail about it because, of course, it's one of those films that would completely ruin the purpose of watching it if you knew what it was about. But just know that there's a nice little twist in there. And I recently shot a movie called Beast of the Field, which is a sci-fi horror last September. And that was a very interesting experience because me and the cast and crew were so soaking wet because we shot a movie in a hurricane. Ooh. The hurricane hit this South Carolina. It's made its way to Kentucky, and I've never seen any rain like that before. It was interesting because we were all sliding and falling all over the place. It was like Forrest Gump, the scene where he was just like, "It just got raining for 4 months every day." It was just, but the cast and crew, given the nature of what we were dealing with, they were so most people would freak out or complain. Everyone was so cool, which made the atmosphere, and it really worked well for the tone of the film we were going for. Because I actually made, or I didn't make, but I had an associate make a rain machine so I can get that look, and I end up getting way more than I bargained for. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's real cool, man.
I actually have that movie up right now on IMDb, that Beasts of the Field.
Yes.
And I'm a huge creature feature nut.
He is.
I'm reading the synopsis, and I'm already intrigued already.
You want to read that
Yeah,
synopsis?
it's I was supposed to. The funny thing was, I was supposed to shoot that before I shot Payday, but I had a producer that wanted me to shoot Payday before, so it kind of just got shuffled around. You know, it happens all the time. But I'm really quite happy with both films. They're both different by nature in a lot of ways, but I'm a big fan of like dramatic stories. I'm a huge fan of dramas, so no matter what element of film that I do, whether it's a horror film, a thriller, or a drama in general, just it's so much you can work with. I love character development. I'm a huge fan of the 1970s style filmmaking where character-driven films was great. Not saying that they're not now, but now it's more about explosions and superheroes, and it's more right. It's a different style of filmmaking today, and it's not saying anything bad about it. It's just more of a preference of taste.
Sounds
Very
good.
true. Yeah.
Hey Matt, while you got that IMDb up, you want to read that synopsis for us and the listeners?
You want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. I should have did that.
No, let him do it. He's the director. He's the producer. Let him do it.
Yeah, either one of you two that wants to read it off.
I have a tendency to talk too much. I will give too much.
Look. You can talk as much as you want. That's what the podcast is for.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to chip out like.
Basically, Payday is about when an inexperienced criminal Ben holds up a small town restaurant. A poorly planned robbery spirals into a hostage crisis beyond his control. So that being said, it's a huge. What's that word I'm trying to say? it's a huge secret that involves into it. It's more to it than that, but of course, I don't want to say, but it's worth the watch if you watch it.
Okay.
Let's just say that. It kind of sounds like a typical hostage negotiation film, but it was inspired from Dog Day Afternoon, and Dog Day Afternoon is one of my favorite hostage negotiation films of all time. Back when Al Pacino was like the man, which he still is.
Oh yeah.
Now, Beast of the Field is not so many secrecy in there, so I think I can give out the full.
The spiel for that one.
Yeah, a delusional cryptozoologist and a psychopathic television presenter leads an amateur expedition into the wild forest in hopes of finding the legendary Thunderbird, which they believe is an ancestor of the prehistoric. Sorry, I coughed.
Okay. You still there?
That's why I hate podcasts, because I mean, like, I love them, but like always something weird happens to me.
Hey,
and
man.
then like you can't take that back. You can't do the Thanos snap. So
Nope. Cut. All right. Rewind.
yeah, see,
Edit.
I'm saying I can do that. Cut. I messed up. It's okay.
But you know what it
may or
is?
may not be in the behind the scenes.
You know what it is with that though. What I love about podcasts, especially mine, because mine, a lot of stuff doesn't get cut out, even the quote unquote bloopers. Because when you go back and listen to it, especially when you haven't heard it in a while, it's hilarious. I'm like, I can't.
No, see,
I have to share this
that's
with
the
everybody.
thing. I think it's funny. Like a lot of times I go back and I listen. And I'm just like, honestly, you have the most fun time, because a lot of times you're talking and certain things, you hear a certain sound or certain noises. It just seems like it's easier to laugh and have a good time and be mellow on a podcast, and that's one thing I like about being on a podcast.
Yeah, it's. Ask Matt. There's been a lot of bloopers on this one. We just keep going.
Oh yes. Just keep on going.
Yep.
Like those humdingers there, right, Aaron?
Oh man, the Humdingers episode was hilarious. So I already know.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
That's what we do too. We always interrupt each other.
Every single time.
Yeah, it's always kind of hard to know when to go. Aaron, I don't know if you know who Ari Spears is.
Yes.
Comedian. You sound a lot like him on just listening to you talk.
I wish I could do the voices he can do though. Just changing his voice. If I can do that, I'd be all set. I just tell you guys, DMX is here and he's recording this podcast with me, And you may or may not believe it, but I can't. Matt, you were going to ask something?
I was gonna say with the beasts here are, it's a, with the whole Thunderbird, which I think is awesome because you don't see many movies with or dealing with a Thunderbird, which is supposed to be based on the prehistoric dinosaurs. Did you use practical effects, CGI? Do we get to see what it looks like at all?
Well,
No,
I'm not gonna give it away because that was one of those things, and I lied. I guess I said it wasn't gonna be my secrecy. I guess I didn't know I was gonna be asked that question, but I like people to find out on their own. I know a lot of people love to know as much. Like now, like it's like even when you're seeing Avengers Endgame, there's so many people trying to find out everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, whatever happened to the anticipation of just waiting to see the movie?
Well, with the Avengers, it's based on a comic. You already have the story there in front of you for the comics, and all of a sudden you put it on the big screen and you're going, well, let's see if they go by the comics. So now, of course, people are probably busting out the comics, flipping through, going, okay, so-and-so is going to do this, and that doesn't happen, but they change it. So I can see how they're doing with the Marvel, but with this stuff, I like to keep it quiet too, going, I like to be surprised. Like,
I think because one of the best experiences I had recently seeing the movie was the movie Get Out, because I was actually in pre-production of Payday, and I literally locked myself in a room studying hard and making sure, I don't get distracted by social media, because a lot of times when I'm in pre-production, it's easy to get distracted, and that's very crucial to make or break a film. So a lot of times right before I'm about to shoot a movie, I just get off social media and get off the grid, and I just focus on what I need to focus on and deactivate my Facebook, everything, so I can focus on making a movie. But anyway, I knew nothing about the movie Get Out. So when I went to go see Get Out, that was so... that was probably one of the best experiences, and I think the reason why I enjoyed it so much is I had no idea what I was getting into. And I think that made the movie so much more effective because we live in a world now where you're just you really get way more than what you need to know about a movie when you see it now, and I just think that's why a lot of people's expectations, or a lot of times people when they watch a movie, they're like, I don't know what to think about it, because I think just you being forced to hear so much about something, and then when you see it, I just think it can affect how you feel about it. Because some of the best movies I've watched, I knew nothing about, opposed to waiting a year and a half to watch Batman versus Superman, and you've seen 4 trailers and almost everything you could possibly see, and then you see the movie and you're just like, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, too, with the day and age, you watch a film, a lot of people are already putting it on YouTube or reviews online. It can get spoiled pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of ruins it for a lot of people as well. Where if a new film comes out and it's like, oh, you got to go see it because such and such is in there, or this happens, you're going, oh, thanks for the big surprise. Oops. Like when Halloween came out, I stayed away from the internet. I stayed away from a lot of people posting about the Halloween because I want to be surprised now. I want to see how they did this.
Yeah.
And one person kind of ruined a little bit for me because they said it takes place after the very first movie. It ignores all the sequels and it eliminates the whole brother-sister thing. Right. Okay, but I'm more intrigued on that now. Okay. Now I got to see how they did it. So I stayed away from everything. When I went to go see the movie, I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool how they did everything and how they changed the story around. I'm like, okay.
I liked some aspects of the film. I loved how Michael Myers was back to the way he originally was. The tone was definitely right. I felt that Michael Myers was really powerful and he was brutal, and I loved that because I felt that he was more so in this film than any other film. Like I like how they just kept the camera panning on a lot of shots where he was just literally going house to house, offing people. What I did not like, however, was the things that they ignored on the other movies. They put it right back in the movie. I was just like, wait, am I missing something here? We're going to ignore this, but we're going to put it back in there.
Yeah.
that to me was so ineffective, and I other than that, I still say I would fairly enjoyed it more than any. I would say I still enjoyed the original second one more, but I would say that was the next best thing, including the Rob Zombies.
Mm-hmm. So I got a questions for you, Chase. I'll start off with this one. I usually ask all my guests. It's who or what got you into horror movies, and what's the very first horror movie that you can remember that scared you?
Oh, absolutely. I love talking about this. My what really got me intrigued in movies is I always grew up watching them. Me and my parents and my brother, we all had one TV growing up, so I was forced to watch whatever they watched. And the very first movie I can remember watching that scared me was Child's Play, the original Child's Play. I was getting my hair cut. I was 5 years old, and my uncle asked me, "Hey, you guys want to watch Child's Play?" Like I knew what it was. So, of course, it traumatized me because the TV was right there as I'm getting my hair cut. I can't move. I got to keep watching because you get a haircut. You can't move. You got to watch. You got to stare straight. So that was a very traumatizing experience for me because I had the little My Buddy doll, and I became obsessed with horror movies since then. And that was the most effective to me because I think I definitely got rid of my Buddy doll. And the second movie that did that to me was A Nightmare on Elm Street. And we had this old bathtub that I could not get submerged in because I was convinced Freddy was going to come and get me and drag me under. And it took about 5 or 6 people to hold me under the water. So I definitely reached out to Tom Holland on Facebook, and we actually talk so often. And I definitely let him know that he influenced me a lot into getting into filmmaking. I love his movie Fright Night. He's made some incredible films, and I think he's never really mentioned as far as one of the greatest horror directors. Of course, you always hear Hitchcock and Wes Craven, and they are rightfully so in that conversation. But I think Tom Holland deserves a little bit more praise.
Yes, very true.
That's awesome. You answered like a bunch of questions with that answer. I was just about to ask you what got you into films and all that, and you kind of answered that with the Tom Holland thing. That was I was not really the cool kid growing up. Everyone's outside playing, and I'm sitting here ready to watch the next horror movie, from It to Child's Play to Halloween to Friday the 13th, to The Blob, Piranha, all those movies. I just was so obsessed with them. And at the time, I was like, I wanted to be an actor. I didn't know what a director was. So, growing up all this time, I wanted to act, and I used to act in my films. But that was a huge mistake I learned not to do anymore because, on a small budget film, I know you wear so many hats, but I think you definitely don't need to wear so many hats. You definitely need to pick one or two main things you're gonna do before, because if I'm in front of the camera, I can't direct people or myself to what they need to be doing if I'm acting with them. So Payday was the film where I was like, you know what, I definitely need to be one or the other. That's cool though. I understand that, but that's cool. Like you learn that just from wearing all the hats, like you're saying, to just like, look, I can only do this, and this. I can't do everything.
Yeah, you really can't. And I because it was a film that I shot before that I acted in, and I think the film would have been so much better if I just would have, just directed. And it was Marvelous Mandy, which I just recently released that on YouTube. It's free to watch. Enter if you dare. But I thought that the lead actress Paula Solinger was just incredible. She was so that character. It's a really creepy 1960s style, horror movies. It's kind of like Fatal Attraction meets Misery. It's about a single dad who's looking for this children's book for his daughter called Marvelous Mandy. He ends up meeting the real author, and they have a really great connection, and it just seems like it's too good to be true. And then he finds out that she has some very sinister personalities behind that. So it's a very nice, strong psychological thriller.
That sounds. They all sound very interesting. I definitely need to check them all out.
Well, a lot of people love Marvelous Mandy, but of course, I guess me, I guess I view things differently because I'm always looking at the mistakes opposed to what people, I guess, they always point out what they liked about it. So it's I guess a lot of people are surprised when that I like because I guess me, I'm like, man, I should have just directed. I guess I'm disappointed in myself, and it's hard for me to watch that.
But you learned from it, though. I mean, you could take the positives from that. Like, you learned, like, directing's really my thing to be doing. And that's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely learned the hard way from that lesson. And I think you see a big difference in Payday, which was my next film, opposed to that. I think the camera angles and everything was just a lot more spot on, opposed to Marvelous Mandy, because I was in front of the camera and it was hard to check all of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me think. What's your favorite horror movie if you had to choose one?
If I had to choose one horror movie, I'd definitely say Child's Play.
Okay.
Child's Play. I just thought the way Tom Holland directed it. I know there was doll movies before Child's Play, but I thought Child's Play was done in a sinister way where I felt that it was very effective and unique than any other one. And around that time, and that's like watching the 20 years later Child's Play DVD of everything on how they originally was about to do it. It was just really cool the direction they really decided to go with, because originally Chucky was supposed to come alive through swapping blood through Andy. Like Andy cut himself in it and leaked into Chucky's bloodstream. It was originally supposed to be called Blood Brother. It was supposed to be called Blood Brothers or Batteries Not Included, and of course they couldn't call it Batteries Not Included because Steven Spielberg was, directing a movie, Batteries Not Included at the time. So that's how Child's Play got its name, and so I thought it was pretty clever on how it was done, and I liked how originally Chucky had a female voice, but they had to go back and bring Brad Dourif back because Chucky didn't sound like the way they wanted. It didn't sound scary.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought Brad Dourif back and do the voiceovers. I just thought it was so well done, and I love how they brung Ed Gale from Howard the Duck into the film to do some of the movements for Chucky to give him more of that realistic look. And you can see how this later on, as the films progressed, how they weren't so effective because they didn't have Ed Gale literally doing some of the movements that I felt that they should have definitely utilized him more for each sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the last one?
What did I think of the last one? I thought the concept was really good. I loved how they had the multiple Chuckies. I was really glad to see Alex Vincent back. I chat with him quite a bit. What I did not like is I don't understand with $1 million budget that they had for both The Curse and Cult. I didn't understand how they could not make Chucky look better than he did.
Right. When I watched him, like, Chucky looks kind of really weird looking. He didn't look. I love the original look of Chucky.
Yeah, like Tom Holland, what he did was incredible. Tom Holland in the original Child's Play, he kind of had Chucky aging as he was turning more human. If you notice in later on in the scenes, towards the end of the movie, Chucky was losing hair. He was doing all kinds of things. I'm like, those are the little details that mattered that they ignored later on in the sequels. I'm like, why? It's you have a great blueprint. I mean, how can you not do that? And Child's Play 2 and 3, and even Bride of Chucky, even Seed of Chucky, that was twice the budget of that. So I don't understand.
Oh, Seed was so bad. I'm sorry.
I didn't think it was bad. I think what happened with Don Marcini was, and I think what Chucky naturally became funny, and I think each one he became more of a comedic relief, and I think he didn't really know which direction to take, because Seed of Chucky is like, okay, so where do we go from here? Well, I do love Bride of Chucky, what they did. You got to know Chucky a lot more. He was more of a main character than
Bride was
before.
They had some good kills on
Seed
that.
of Chucky was, yeah, so Seed of Chucky tried to do the same thing they did with Bride Chucky. It didn't work because, for one, they made it too much into a comedy. Glenn was not even taken seriously. Instead of being creepy or anything like that, they made him where he didn't even know what gender he wanted to be, and like it just started becoming all of these weird things where it just ruined Chucky's credibility. And then when Chucky got off by him, it just was, oh no, they just basically butchered their own franchise.
Right. But then they brought us back with Curse, and to me, it kind of felt like we're starting to go back to the original roots a little bit. But we're still not there yet. Like, after how part 1, 2, and 3 are fantastic and how they did, and when Curse comes along, you kind of eliminate Seed. You kind of got a little bit of Bride, which I liked. But with Curse, it kind of like it's starting to get to that root. We're not there just yet. But again, Chucky looks kind of weird to me. But I like how it was all done with all in the house with all those people. You get introduced with more family members. You get introduced to Brad Dourif's daughter. There's a couple other things.
Yeah, and I agree with you on a lot of aspects, but one thing I did disagree with, I thought that it was too slow.
Right.
Like, it was nothing exciting. You kind of went back to the formula after the first one where you don't really see Chucky move very much, but we've already seen him move, so you can't go back. I felt like if they'd done that, they might as well go ahead and make a direct sequel and ignore all the other ones. That's what they should have done if they were going to do it that route, because you went from seeing Chucky so much to Chucky now you're not seeing him as much, and it's just it looked more like a independent film. The production value was not there. So yeah, I didn't really care for the Curse or Cult of Chucky. I like the concepts to him, but the look of a cheap looking Chucky just ruined it for me.
Well, at least we didn't get Chucky in space yet.
So. I hope we do get Chucky in space. I would.
Oh God.
That's all we're missing right now is Chucky in space. Matter of fact, Chucky in space with his his powers that he had from the last one with all the Chucky dolls versus Leprechaun. Make it happen.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen of oil from them to bring Chucky versus Leprechaun or Chucky versus Annabelle. There's been the two talks for the last 20 years. I shall say, especially with Chucky versus Leprechaun, which I never understood how would they even happen. But yeah, because I totally, as much as I love Chucky, Leprechaun would destroy him.
It would be a funny movie though. I think that's the gist of it, because they both talk so much junk, and the jokes and everything, and just some of the kills. They both have some brutal kills. It would be like a one of those movies, kind of fun, funny, straight to DVD type. It wouldn't go to theaters, but I would definitely watch it.
Yeah, and I think that was
easily.
Yeah.
You said what? I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
I would say that Leprechaun would destroy Chucky pretty easily.
Yeah.
Because all you gotta do is just dismember him, put him attach him to a board or anything, just the parts. All right, I'm done. Now I'll go watch Chucky.
Or a team-up movie.
Leprechaun's powers was just far too greater than Chucky's. Because Chucky's only real power is being able to transfer his soul into another body. That's really the only thing he can do.
What about a team-up movie with those two?
Their personalities. Chucky's not really much of a team-upper guy. Chucky is more about, he likes killing. I wouldn't really see why Chucky would team up with them. I mean, he wouldn't help him get his gold back, or
I mean,
I can't really see.
The only thing I can see is, say he's like, he'll help him get his gold back, and then Leprechaun's strong, so he can somehow use his powers to, say, knocks him out, get someone down. Chucky can possess a stronger body than that little doll he has, the little doll body. That would be something, maybe. Just throwing it out there,
Yeah. I don't think that would. I think if Chucky was to team up with any known serial killer origin that we know, I would have to say Chucky would be more similar to Freddy.
That would be a hilarious team up.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. But
because Chucky, like he's always getting picked up by little kids. Freddy loved little kids, and
Yeah, you got a point. You got a point there. So I got a question. This question is actually for both of you. And I know I've asked you this before, Matt. At least I think I did. Now we're just gonna go by any horror movies that are out there that you guys have seen. Could be a big name horror movie or whatever. What's one horror movie that like you wish you could have had a role in, or you would like to have had a role in? And the second question is similar question with the horror movies, but instead of having a role in, directing.
Um, if there's any if any Hollywood film would like or called me up and asked me what, I would definitely love to do an adaptation of Chucky.
Okay.
I don't like where the series is heading. I don't like the new studios rebooting it. I would definitely love to collaborate with Don Marcini and definitely get Chucky on the right track and figure out how can we make Chucky go back to the original roots and more of a commercial success opposed to straight to DVD.
I like that. Matt, what about you?
I would probably like to do a Phantasm origin, kind of like an origin of the Tall Man, kind of, and the origin where he finds the spheres or finds the portal. And when I met Don Mancini there, and Don Cascarelli there. Wow. I asked him, I go, have you ever plans of doing another one? Even though Angus Scrimm unfortunately passed, but would you mind doing it as a prequel, where you get someone that's younger that could kind of look like Angus but not be him? And he's like, well, what do you mean, like in the Wild West? I'm like, oh, that's even better. Like in the Wild West where he's building the facility where he has the funeral home. He doesn't have all the technology he has nowadays, but the spheres could look more wooden or maybe just starting to become metal, so they're rusty. He finds the portal and finds out what these demons are. Maybe he gets possessed, and that's why he becomes this tall man. Or maybe we have a doppelganger where he gets sucked into the portal, and the new tall man comes out, and that's who he is now. He is this embodiment of evil, and I thought that would be kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Now, those two movies you just named, would those be the same movies you guys would want to act in, so to speak?
No, I would definitely like to direct the Chucky movie. I don't know how I would fake getting beat up by a doll. I just don't know how I would do that. Like,
Hey, stand in front of the screen.
You see the Chucky movies and you see like a grown human being twirling around by a doll.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
it just cannot be taken seriously. You know, it's a guilty pleasure more film. You know, for me, like
Yep.
I love Chucky. I like the concept of it, but when he's literally, you tear his arm. Well, I think the problem I have with it is if it was consistent on what he actually is, because it was never consistent or addressed if that's stuffy cotton in his arms that they're twirling around with, or is it muscle? They never established that. So again, if I was to direct Child's Play, if he's turning into human, I would definitely take the stuffiness into a literal muscle mass. Like in Child's Play 2 when he ripped his arm off,
Yeah.
or his hand off, it was like flesh and blood under there. So you're like, okay, so I can see that. But on Child's Play 1 when he was getting shot, it was all that stuffiness, So it was never consistent on what Chucky is.
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. I'm starting to think you're a big fan of Chucky.
I'm a big fan of a lot of movies, and a lot of times when I watch a movie, I always, of course, look for the continuity, and I try to understand it because, as a storyteller, you got to know what you're telling, and of course, it's easy to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but of course, a lot of times when I watch my work and I'm like, damn, what was I thinking? Oh, excuse my language. I didn't know if I just slipped.
Oh, we swear on this all the time.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
All right, cool. Everyone has different rules. I was just like, it just kind of slipped. I'm like, whoops.
Nope, it's all good.
But now, however, as far as a horror movie that I would love to act in, that I think I would contribute to a lot. I love James Wan's the Insidious movies.
Oh,
I think those movies are just phenomenal. Of course, the third and fourth one, I didn't even bother watching the Last Key. I think
Last Key was good.
Yeah,
It was.
It really was
Real
good.
I was surprised how they did that. Usually when they start going on, it starts to lose its. I don't know. It starts losing something.
The
No,
third one
Last
definitely
Key
did.
was real good.
And I'm glad to finally hear that, because the third one, I was so excited to watch, and I was just like, oh, that was definitely not as good as the first two. I thought the first two was equally good, and I get so upset with James Wan when he does the first and second one, and then he just completely leaves, and then they want to continue to go without him, and he definitely leaves his style on the films, and it's just look at the Conjuring 1 and 2. The first one definitely was really good, but the first Annabelle was not nowhere near as good. The Nun, I did not like. I was so disappointed in the Nun. And although I could see some elements about it I liked, I just did not think that you just thought it would have been way better, considering that the Conjuring 2, that was the best thing about it, was the Nun. I loved Annabelle Creation, though.
Really?
Yeah, I thought Annabelle Creation was a really good prequel. I thought it was creepy. I thought it's what the first one should have been.
I
wasn't a big fan of Annabelle itself. The way the story was done, everything was all set up. Then we decided, okay, let's sit and watch The Creation. I heard it's a prequel. Heard it's actually better. So we watched it. And we're okay. Like, I wasn't a big fan of that. Like, we watched The Nun. I actually liked The Nun. Not with, like, how awesome it was, or it wasn't really scary, but we liked the cinematography of it and how some of the way The Nun looked. Like, some of the scenes were just freaky. And we just liked that part. And we used, of course, a nun, which is a religious character. The movie's all based on religion. And how this demon would disguise itself as a nun. And, of course, stay in the convent. But we watched The Nun first before we watched Annabelle Creation, I think it was. Where they had the picture of the nuns. I'm like, oh, wow, that's from the movie The Nun. So I see, then they tied everything all together. I'm like, oh, okay. But again,
well, yeah, I mean, I see some points in that. To me, the film was just, it did not have nowhere near enough Nun. And,
right, needed more Nun.
Yeah, and then there was just the typical jump scares. There was nothing refreshing about it. Now, I will argue my point with Annabelle Creation. Annabelle Creation was a lot more creepier, spookier. There was some really cool elements to add to it. It wasn't as beautifully shot as The Nun. I will definitely agree there. But I felt that the Annabelle Creation, I loved how the ending tied into the first one, and then you found out who that woman was, and I was like, wow, now that was really cool. I loved Annabelle Creation. I like that even more than I liked the Conjuring 2.
Do you think they'll do a Conjuring 3 to do with the whole Amityville?
No, they actually said on the third one they're going to do a trial of the guy who said he was possessed by the. I forgot exactly which case it was, but it was actually based off a real case that happened.
Okay. So that'll be neat.
Yeah, no, I like the direction they're going with it, but of course, when James Wan doesn't commit because now he's on to bigger things. I don't know how I feel about the third one.
Right, because James Wan has his own, signature mark. And when you get that, you're like, oh, all right. Then when someone else takes over, it's just kind of like, all right.
I feel like the only director that James Wan, because he always attaches he's always attached other filmmakers that he's been working with or collaborating with. I feel like if they got the director from Annabelle Creation, I will have a little bit more faith in the film. But if they get the same director who did, the Nun, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I just felt like in the Nun, I just felt like they just played it so safe. There was nothing really that I've never seen before, and that was the disappointing news for me was watching that film.
I can see that. I enjoyed it. I did really enjoy The Nun, but I get where you're coming from, and I can see it. And I like that I'm actually having you on this podcast because it's cool to get a perspective from somebody who actually directs movies. Because I know you probably look at it a little bit different than just your quote unquote average horror fan or
Yeah,
average movie
and I
fan
just
in
want to
general.
say, just for the record, guys, I'm not taking a stab at no one
Oh,
at all.
No.
It's just a matter of I don't ever say no movie is bad. It just wasn't for me. I just want to clear the air because we live in a generation of offensive words, and I just
Yes.
but no, I know I love Insidious because look at Insidious. It's basically took a very simple idea, but with a twist of instead of a haunted house, they made it where this guy can literally go to different dimensions, and I thought that was so refreshing. I'm surprised to see that The Conjuring got a lot more recognition, but I thought Insidious was more of an original idea. It was far more of an original concept, and I mean the Insidious movie kind of creeped me out a little bit more. That
Hey, you
scene
don't
where
see astral projection a lot in films. It's
yeah,
always something being possessed, something that's doing possession, or something always being possessed. Here, astral projection.
yes,
It's something new, which is great because it's a new concept.
yeah. I didn't think that. And that's my point. And I'm like, man, that was so well done. Like that scene where she heard a baby screaming, and she went in that room, and you can faintly see that person behind that white sheet. That gets me every time. That was so well done because I was just like, whoa, Because a lot of times when I watch a movie, I can almost predict everything that's coming. Because a lot of movies follow the same formulas that was successful before, and that's why I like to see somebody who's not afraid to take a risk and a challenge. And to me, I think James Wan is that new director. He's definitely, in my opinion, the best horror director of the 21st century. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I definitely love what he's done with the horror genre, from Dead Silence to Insidious to The Conjuring, and those movies were just incredible.
Now, I'm surprised they have never done a sequel to Dead Silence. Like, it's always Insidious has gotten big, The Conjurings, all those films. Just to me, Dead Silence felt like thrown into the back burner. That movie was fantastic.
It really was.
I love that movie.
It didn't really get nowhere near success, the commercial success as. But I blame that more on the studio. I don't feel like I don't think the studios that he worked for previously, before he really kind of got in bed with Warner Bros. I think Warner Bros. Has definitely marketed him very well, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy is a genius. I'm kind of sad that he's kind of backed out of producing the Resident Evil reboot. I really felt that he would have been a very good asset to get it back on the right track. What I love about him is that you can tell he loves making movies, and that's the directors we really need. We need more people who love making movies, I feel like Hollywood is more of a corporate business deal. I don't feel any passion, and that's why I'm so more inclined to watch independent films or foreign films for that matter, because at least they have heart.
That also, too, they have originality, where let's do a sequel, let's do a remake, let's do a reboot, let's do a retelling. It's like, give us maybe something new, something different.
That's where I disagree, and I blame the audience, because if the audience keeps paying for this and they keep going to the box office, that's what they're going to do. I mean, now that's more of the audience versus, I mean, people say they want to see something new or original, and then here it is, and it's out there. They don't invest and go watch it. But they go watch something that's familiar.
That's true. You know what it is?
True.
Is because
I was thinking that.
I feel when it comes to that, like me, I love reboots, I love remakes, whatever you want to call them. I love new ideas. But I feel with some people, they complain about, okay, they're doing this movie over and over and over again. They'll go see it over and over and over. But they're afraid of change. Like, they want it, but they're scared. Like, well, if they come up with this new concept, this movie's about this, that, and the third, it's new. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I'll like it. But it's like, you got to go check it out and like it. You got to go check it out and see if you like it or not. Not just, like you're saying, stick to the same For example, let's just throw this out there. Stick to the same slasher movies for the 45 years. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's throw some new ideas out there. I'm all for it in general with the horror, but yes, I would love to see some new things. And you know, if I like it, I like it. If I don't, hey, that's fine. At least I checked it out.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. That's why I'm saying it's more of the audience. To me, like a lot of remakes, I don't watch. Just for the simple fact that I know it doesn't really bother me personally because I know that they're trying to appeal to a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing where I feel that bothers me is when people say they want to see something different, and there's so many talented indie filmmakers out there, and they never get noticed because no one wants to invest in it. And then when they do invest in watching it, they pick up the little teeny tiny things, what's wrong with the film. It just seems today that it's so hard for someone to enjoy something. It just seems like people want to find something to not like about something.
You know what it is? Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But you know what it is? Just going on what you were saying, as far as people, one, I definitely feel you should support indie films, whether it be me, I say support indie horror, but support indie films across the board. I just say horror because of my horror podcast, and that's like my favorite genre. Support it all across the board. But I feel like people like to follow that movie that has the big, 1,000 tweets, 1 million Facebook posts. Oh, I got to go see this movie because it's hot on Facebook or it's hot on YouTube or it's, you know what I mean? Versus like,
Yeah.
You have this one movie that has 2 Facebook posts and 2 tweets and nobody really wants to see that movie. And me, I'm just, again, sticking with horror. I'm like, you know what? I want to check out this indie film right here versus this big film everybody's talking about because this film right here can be a gem. That film over here that everybody's talking about, I'm not gonna say all the time, but I'll say 9 times out of 10 is a disappointment because of all the. And it could be a really good movie, but just because you're listening to all the hype of everybody, oh, this is the scariest movie that I've ever seen, this, that, and the third, this is the best horror movie I've ever seen. You go and check it out, and you're like, it wasn't all that great. But this movie over here that nobody's talking about is an excellent, well-done movie. Now, just imagine if this movie over here had the budget of this movie here. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what drives me nuts with some people, you tell them about these movies, and they'll go, well, was it in the theater?
Exactly. No. That's the first
question. Oh, I'm not going to go see it then. Why not? It's right there in front of you. Just watch it.
Yes.
I love it. And they're like, well, does it have a Blu-ray? Because I only buy Blu-ray. No. It's got DVD or it's online. You can go to a different format. It's okay. Yeah. It's not going to hurt you.
Exactly.
Just if it's out there, watch it. That's what that people need to do is go out and watch these things. Just because it's not in the theater, or maybe it's just only on, let's say it's on Netflix. Okay, watch it on Netflix. Or if it's like a first-time producer coming out, they put their movie out, they do an Indiegogo on it or a Kickstarter. They want to get their name out there, and like it's going by word of mouth. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not buying it because it's not on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Right.
Or I'm not buying it because I don't something weird like, oh, it looks stupid. How do you know it looks stupid? Just by the cover? Watch the film. You'll probably have a great time.
And there's the funny thing. There was a few movies that I did skip last year, and my best friend Kenny was like, "No, you really should watch it." And I watched it, and I was like, "Wow, it looks a lot better than it was marketed." So yeah, that proves the point of what you just said.
Yeah. I know it's hard for like independent filmers because they don't have the funds, but they rely on other people, like word of mouth. They rely on online. It's like, hey, someone buy this movie and they'll watch it. And hopefully, it'll spread like a disease.
Well,
some people they love it, then they spread the next one. The next person buys it, and so on and so on.
Well, my experience that I found out, this is crazy because this is going to be the first time I've really spoke out publicly about this. So,
okay.
One thing I've learned is that most of my support have came from people I barely even know.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are, I thought were my friends, and this is not everyone because my best friend watched all of my movies and gives me some amazing advice. My mom and dad are great. Yeah, but a lot of people that I know that I tell, hey, watch my movie. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it. Did you watch it? No, man. I have some stuff to do, but then you'll see a social media post where they're going to watch, you know,
Mhm.
and the Avengers, Infinity War. And the funny thing is like, if people are so quick to support someone that they don't know, like a celebrity they don't know, opposed to friends or anything like that. Have you ever heard that term? They want to see you do well, but not better than them.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
But if I got a headline, Chase Dudley just got signed on by New Line Cinema. I swear to God, my social media would be, "Hey Chase, man, I knew you would make
Mhm.
it. Oh man, we definitely get together soon." It's just Johnny Depp said that too, where he said one day everyone would act like they always knew you.
Yep. See, me with the indie horror thing, like I connected with Sam on that, like we were discussing earlier, and now I'm connecting with you on it. Like I want everybody to succeed, especially the small guy.
That's a great message. I'm 100% a part of that.
Because I'm like everybody's out like this. My podcast, I try to use it as a platform. I mean, it's mainly for horror, but I would let a little bit more slip in there as long as we discuss horror, just because it's it's what this is about.
Yeah.
But it's like I want you to be able to come on this and just talk about your movies and just I support indie films. I want people to come on here, listen, go to this website. Here's where you can find my movie. Here's where you can find my Indiegogo, and so on and so forth. And then I feel it just helps. Like on social, for example, for social media, people click share all day. They're sharing anything. Like it takes 2 seconds to share this man's indie film, to share this woman's indie film, or just share like how you have you see a lot of people doing their own special effects now, right from home. And it's like it takes 2 seconds to just share that, post it in a horror group that you're going to share something anyway. Just click share, tell people to go check it out. And I'm like, I did this podcast, one, because, again, I love horror. I love talking about horror, meeting new fans that love horror. And I want to help get other people's stuff out there. Like, if the horror genre, right, it's becoming more and more popular nowadays. But as far as, like, for the little man like us, the only way that we're going to grow is if we each help each other. We can't just say, okay, well, look, how about you share my stuff, and then when I get 100 million views, I'll share your thing one time, so those 100 million people will see you. But it's like, no, if I'm going to share yours 100 million times, you share mine 100 million times, and just keep helping each other out. People are so...
Absolutely.
They're
That's
so...
that's
they're,
why I told
they're so out for themselves. Like, I have which I'm going to have you send me the link when we're done with this episode. I have a page on my Podbean, my homepage for my podcast, the Podbean page. It's called Cool Pages to Check Out. And it's just a bunch of, like, I have Matt's podcast on here and his YouTube channel. I have a bunch of people's podcasts on here. Not all of them are horror. Some of them are personal friends. Some are just other horror podcasts I listen to. Some of people are, like, their YouTube channels. And I want to put yours on here. I have Sam's on there. And it's just an extra way to share it out there. And then I also... Facebook, I'll share it out on Facebook. I started using Twitter again, so I'll share it out on Twitter and all that good stuff. I want to see the whole community. I want to see everybody grow. Like, if we're all growing, there's no need to be, selfish or whatever.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. There's a lot of indie artists that I promote, and they don't promote back, and that's how so that's why when you told me that you do what you do, I instantly was connected by that, because there's a lot of filmmakers that I promote them and they promote me, and it's just honestly it's so refreshing. My indie reviews, I'm definitely connected with a lot of them. It's a gentleman named Itai Guberman. He's very very helpful. He promotes a lot of my work, and I promote a lot of his work and the content he shares. And there's quite a few filmmakers that I do the same thing with, and that's how it should be. That's how you get out there.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And I will say this to anybody listening to the podcast: if you have put it this way, if you're a horror fan in general, you're welcome on here. But I'm trying to get more indie film people on here. Get us on. Come on here, talk about your film. We'll also reveal your film, me and my co-host. And we'd love to interview you. You guys are welcome on here anytime you want to come on. This goes for you too, Chase. Anytime you want to come on here again. And
absolutely.
Tell a friend too. Tell a friend. Send them to the podcast. If they have something they want to promote horror-wise and all that, send them on over here. I do it for the fun. I do it for the love of horror. I even...
we don't bite. Only when asked nicely.
See, that's him. That's not me. And like this past I went to a con back in October. Matt was actually there too, and he helped me. Like we did what 3 panels, right, Matt?
2.
2? No, more than 2 because we did
3. Yep, 3.
Yeah, we
That's
did the
right.
podcast. We did 3 panels, and I just asked him. I was like, hey Matt, I'm gonna need help with this panel. And one of my other friends came. Matt was there all 3 days, but we did 3 panels. And then like I had a table at this podcast, and I was telling people that I knew at the time, friends. I was like, listen. I don't care what type of, if you have a horror podcast, any kind of podcast, I don't care. Send me your business cards. If you have a horror shop, whatever, send me your business cards ASAP. Because when I go to this con, I'll put them on my table and people will grab and Matt did that. A couple other friends did that. And this is an open invitation again. I want to get a PL box this year. But this is an open invitation again for you too, Chase. Because when I go to the con's in October that I go to, the horror con. Send me some business cards, and I'll put them right out on my table. This is no charge. I've seen people doing it. I believe it was on Facebook. I seen people doing it, saying the same thing, but it was like, $10 for one day, $15 for the weekend. I'm doing this for free for the love of horror. All I ask is, come on the podcast and share the podcast. That's it. I don't want any money because I want us all to grow. I don't need a financial gain for that.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and that's why I told you guys anything you ever want me to promote, let me know, because, of course, it's impossible to see everyone's post every day. But if there's something that you really want me to push for you, inbox me and let me know, and I would be happy to promote it. I do it for all kinds of indie artists. A lot of, half the stuff I do promote as far as the movies go is not even my own. I do promote my movies, but I make sure I promote other people's stuff, and in return they promote me as well, and everyone's work is getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do any of your movies have a physical release?
Yes, Payday was released November 26th.
Okay.
And it's on DVD and Blu-ray as well as on streaming services. So
Okay.
it's supposed to be released on iTunes and Google Play soon, but it is on iTunes, or it is on YouTube as well as Amazon Prime.
Nice.
Streaming.
Okay, great.
Now, how?
Yeah, I'm a big physical media type of guy. I like to physically own it, and definitely go and buy them. Even though if it's online, I'll watch it online. Sure, no problem. But if I know what it has a release, I'll purposely go out and buy the physical copy versus watching it streaming.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan. I'm more of a fan of DVD and Blu-ray too. But of course, most people are more into streaming. So the film is doing way better. Are we on Facebook friends, Matt?
No, but we have to be.
What is your last name?
It's Canter, Canter, like the horse trot.
He's on my Facebook. I'm friends with him on Facebook, Chase.
So you say Matt? I couldn't. He kind of blurped out.
Oh, that's Matthew, Matthew, and it's Canter, Canter.
Oh, okay. You popped right up. There we go.
I'm holding my gremlin.
Yes, I just seen it. So now I just sent you the link where you can get the DVD or Blu-ray.
Can you send me that too? And how? Okay, before you not before you send me that. Is there any way I can get a signed copy of this? Because that's one thing I try to do if possible is get a signed copy from indie filmmakers. Just because I think it's awesome to have their autograph and also own the copy of the movie.
Yeah. What I think where are you located at? You can always mail it to me, and I can always definitely sign it.
Okay.
But of course, it's going to be shipped out through Amazon. I don't have any physical copies on me. But yeah, I need to because I need to start doing that. That's one thing I definitely need to do. It's 2019 is to definitely push more autographed DVD signs, DVDs. I don't know, it's weird because when you put yourself out there, you don't want to sound like you're so big-headed, It's so weird. I try to sound humble as possible.
It's like when I go to the conventions, I purposely find the indie people where their movies are, and if they have a physical copy, I'm like, I'll definitely buy it. And I'm like, can you sign it too? And they're like, really? You want my autograph? Go, yeah, it's your movie.
Mm-hmm,
I like to have it personalized or signed because it's added into my collection. And of course, some are like, sure, and others are like, they're still puzzled, like they're shocked.
Yeah, hey.
Like, yes, I do want to sign. I do want to sign. Okay.
I can relate because I remember the first time somebody ever asked me, I didn't even know what to I didn't even know what to say or do. I mean, it's like I wasn't prepared. You know, it's like when an actor, I guess, went in the war, they didn't write their speech, and they're like, what? I don't know what to say. You know, it's just I think that's human nature. But I think you made his day.
Oh yeah, it's just, you know what it is. It's like this is your art. This is your art. I love art. Whether it's a picture on a wall or a movie or music, I would love to have this physical copy of this, and I would love for you to sign it.
Yeah.
And
I went to a free comic book day at a place that was probably about an hour away, and there was a director of a film there, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll bring my copy to have it signed." And of course, I stunned him because I brought it in because he's used to having all his comics signed. When I brought his movie in, he's like, "What?" I go, "Yes, I'd like to have it signed." He goes, "You like this movie?" I go, "Yes, that's why I own it." And that's why I want it signed, and I hope you do a sequel. He goes, "Oh, I can't do a sequel." Near the end of the day, the owner of the store came up to me and goes, "What did you do?" I go, "What?" He goes, "You just made that guy's day." He's like smiling constantly. I'm like, "I just brought my movie in that he made, and I wanted to have it autographed." He's like, "Wow, what movie is that? Where'd you get the movie?"
see,
Yeah. No, it's awesome. You know, I'm glad that you made his day.
see that right there is, it's great. Now, Chase, have you ever done any conventions?
I have nowhere near as much as I should. Because of course, a lot of times, I'm at that point now where I've been consistent of making movies. Like now, I feel that I want to do it more is because now I actually have movies to show for. I've never been I didn't want to be at the conventions where I'm like, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. What anything I can see? No, I got a couple things in the works. I think that I don't know. I just to me, that's not a good look. Opposed to showing up with a few movies that I've done, and like now, they're kind of more out there opposed to some of the previous films where it was very hard, or they're on platforms no one even knew where they can get it. So like now, I feel a lot more like a filmmaker.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say it'd be cool. It'd be really cool to see you at a con with the movies you've already had done, and just even, I mean, I know they're already out, but even do a screening if possible.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely open for that, and that's one with Beast of the Field. I'm going to definitely have a festival run. So
Awesome.
yeah, I never really had a great festival run. I tried with Payday, but Payday was it was too long of a film. It was an hour and 46 minutes, and a lot of programs want your film under 90 minutes. So Beast of the Field is sitting at an hour and 22 minutes.
Okay.
So I think it would definitely do a lot better with programs, and it's my first horror sci-fi film. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited because there's a lot more platforms. There's a lot more festivals for horror films.
Hmm.
One thing I will say about horror films that I love more than in doing any genre, that horror fans have the most loyal fan base ever. And that's why I would always be attached to horror in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was asking that though because I was talking to Sam about this a while ago with the whole normal terror thing, which we did mention on the podcast, so I can't say this out loud. As like, if all goes good, he was gonna come out to the con out here in October. If everything goes as planned, and do a screening out here. I was gonna talk to the guy that runs the con. I was gonna say same thing. If you could, if all went good, it'd be cool to do that. Or at the very least,
Absolutely.
I told him, I was like, even if you couldn't make it, and I'll do the same for you, and I know Matt would. I was like, what we could do is buy the movie from you, see if they'll show it at the con, and have like a panel for it. Just because like I said, I love to help out with that stuff, and I love the horror aspect of it. Panels are fun as hell, Matt. You know that, and it would be real cool, especially because it would be like not a lot of people seeing these movies except for us few people, and then it's like we're presenting this movie, where that'd be real cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Like I said, I definitely want to get out more and mingle as a filmmaker. I really had to get some stuff under my belt in order before I start doing that. I feel like it'd be like going to school without your backpack.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to be prepared and literally have things that people can literally, purchase or want to watch.
Oh yeah, no, that's understandable. But a few still shots from some movies, few Blu-rays, DVDs,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely. At first, I thought you were going to ask if I was going to do a sequel.
oh no, I'm not gonna ask that yet. I'll ask that after I watch the movie though.
Well, I was going to say I don't do sequels.
Ah, well,
There you go.
there's not gonna
You
be a
do
sequel.
prequels. Ooh.
Well,
Ooh.
and well,
I like that.
Here's the thing, and I'm not 100% against sequels in general because there are a handful I felt was far more superior than the first one, like
Mhm.
Terminator 2. I liked Saw 2 better than the first Saw. I liked, let's see, it's not a lot of horror films that the sequel is better, but it's not impossible. I just think it needs to be. It definitely needs to be. I feel like sequels often are not as good as the first one, is because I feel like the pressure is on, or there's too many sequels that don't need one. It's just such much of a success. They instantly like that. Like I said before, the pressure comes in.
Mhm.
Now, if it was a story that really warrant a sequel, I might be open to it.
That makes sense. That makes sense right there. I really respect that because I feel again, sticking with horror. I love prequels, sequels, reboots, remakes, and all that. But I do feel at times sequels are just a freaking money grab. It's like, okay, well, this
Mhm.
movie made 10.9 mil. I don't know, $100 million in the box office first weekend. We need to make a part two, and then part two, you go see that, and it's not as good. So you're like, okay, well, part two did make 97 million. We need to make a part three, and then part three is making like half of that because part two wasn't. I'm getting at that. It just gets worse and worse
Yep,
and worse.
that's what happened with the Chuckies. That's what happened with the Freddy's. That's what happened with the Michael Myers. That's what happens with
A lot.
almost every franchise ever. At some point,
Saw films.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. They do not generate what the first one did, and then that's why you have a reboot.
I got a good question for you. This is a question I seen on. I think I seen it on Facebook. I don't remember, or Twitter. It was in your opinion, is it, as far as a franchise goes, should it be 3 or more movies, or should it be 4 or more movies? Now, before you guys answer, I'm going to tell you my answer real quick. I said 4 or more because I feel like if it ends at 3, that's just kind of that's just a trilogy, so it's not really like a full franchise, quote unquote, type of thing. But I wanted to hear your guys' opinions on that.
I would say 2 or more. It would be a franchise because it's something. It's kind of a following there at that point.
You said 2 or more?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Okay.
I'll go with
still considered
4 and more.
4?
4 or more, yeah, because like I said, 2 is just like it's a sequel, not really anything there. A franchise would mean more and more, so therefore, like trilogy, okay, you got a trilogy. But anything after a trilogy, you don't really call it, oh, look at the quadology. You call it, oh, look at that franchise.
Quadology.
You got more of that. It's like, okay, I got the Amityville trilogy. But now you have, like, well, I have the Amityville franchise because there's so many Amityville movies. The Friday the 13th,
Franchise.
that's
Yeah.
a franchise. You don't say the Candyman franchise because you call it the Candyman trilogy. There's just 3 Candymans.
Well, not a lot of people knows there's a trilogy.
I know.
Good point. Good point.
Well, but here's the thing. I think it's a matter of wording. A lot of times people use different words and it's the same meaning. A franchise is more than one. So
Mm.
I think we're all agreeing, but we're just using different words.
Using it in a different way. I get what you're saying with that. Oh man, I think I ran out of questions. I'm trying to think. Do you have any questions for us?
That was a good debate there.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
And there's, how long have you guys been doing what you're doing? I know we vaguely got into the conversation before we actually started, but I'd like to know how you guys met and what made you all decide that you guys were going to do a podcast.
Okay. Well, originally I started this last January, and I started out with doing like a Facebook group, and I'd do like unboxing videos and all that. And I was always into horror, and I kept saying I had a Facebook group for a few years, and I kept saying I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a podcast. And my awesome wife got me some equipment. She got me a nice mixer and all that good stuff. She got me a mixer. It came with a mic and a pair of headphones. And then it went from that to, okay, I have the stuff I need. I'm going to keep doing these videos because I got a better camera now, too. So I'm going to keep doing these videos. I have a better mic. I'm going to do a podcast. And it was, okay, well, I need a co-host or co-hosts. So when I finally did make the podcast, to make a long story short, my first episode, I was riding to Scaricon. My brother was driving. I was riding with another good friend. And I had a little recorder in my hand. I was like, listen, this podcast, we're going to start it up today. Hit record, recorded from pretty much where we left my house or whoever's house to, we went to a rest stop, used the bathroom, all that good stuff. Turned it off. Went from here. There's a point to the story. Don't worry. Went from there to the con. Recorded again, then turned it off. Recorded on the way home. Get home to upload this for my first podcast. I had nothing. The reason why I had nothing is because instead of hitting save, because there was 3 little switches on the thing. Instead of hitting save, when you hit the record button, hit down to save, I would just turn it off, so it just didn't save anything. So it went from that to I got my brother on the phone. We recorded together a couple times. I had a couple friends coming over here and there. So the way I had my podcast was, I was like, if it would be like me and a random guest would just record. That's what was the premise of my podcast at first. And it went from that to I'd have, like I said, I have personal friends that I knew. Matt, I actually met him at a con up in Albany last year called Empire State Con, and that's because Robert Englund was up here, and Amanda Wiss, and a couple other people from that Nightmare on Elm Street cast.
Oh wow, yeah, Amanda Wiss. I met her. She's awesome. I haven't got to meet Robert Englund, but yeah, she's so down to earth. I actually almost worked with her before.
That's awesome. And real quick, because anytime I bring her up, I say this: watch the movie The Id. Amazing freaking movie.
Okay.
I believe it's on Amazon Prime, but amazing movie. Anyway, so yeah, me and Matt met at we met at this con up here, and last April, like I was saying, we were just waiting in line. I don't know how the conversation started. We were just talking horror movies randomly, and we started talking about Thanksgiving. And that's how our friendship started, over the movie Thanksgiving. And we were talking about that movie. And there's a person that I said we weren't going to talk about anymore on the podcast because he was so negative. Let's just say he's the type of person, he wouldn't watch a B-rated type of movie. He would just watch Hollywood movies, for example, Hollywood horror movies. That's all I'm going to say. And we just came up with that same day, because I was helping a friend out at that con with his podcast. He had a table and stuff. But that same day, me and Matt exchanged information, Facebooks and all that good stuff. He joined my horror group page. We started talking. I was like, hey, man, I have a podcast. Would you like to be a guest here and there? And he's like, of course. And he has his own podcast, which I'll let him discuss in a minute. And it just went from there. And it went from him being a random guest. And I have a couple other people, like my brother and a friend that I made through these Facebook groups. Their names are Ann. And they just became co-hosts for me, just kind of. So I have somebody to record with, because I didn't want to do a solo podcast. I thought that would be too boring for myself, as well as my listeners. And that's pretty much how it is. Now, Matt, you want to tell them about yours?
Okay. With me, I started off with YouTube. I would just watch a lot of YouTube and everything, and I would watch people with their collections. I'd look and going, well, I have a big collection. I could start a YouTube channel. Why not? So I did. I started one, I want to say 6 years ago I started it. And it just grew. The channel has been so much fun. I went into groups. I met a bunch of other people through YouTube, and we formed a podcast called Cinema Attack. Originally, him and a couple other buddies, they had a falling out and everything fell apart, and he wanted to continue the podcast. I said, hey, I'm available. And another buddy of mine said the same thing. I said, all right, let's do a test run. So we did a test run, and we've been having a lot of fun ever since. It's very laid back. We talk about all different types of cinema, not just horror, not just sci-fi, all that crap, anything and everything. And
you guys are very interesting.
Oh, you listen to that?
You still there?
Oh,
I think his phone crapped out a little bit or something.
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome.
Okay, cool.
Oh, thank you.
I'm having a hard time understanding you guys, though.
Oh. I know I just got a new microphone.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
There it goes.
Here goes the bloopers.
Here it goes. I'll Skype fucks everything up.
Well, he sounded like T-Pain.
He's a fan. That's all. You can keep.
Guys, it's been a great, having me on, and you guys have been awesome. Love talking horror films.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, this was very fun. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Anytime, man.
Oh, anytime, man.
Next time I have you on, I would like to get you one of these times anyway. It doesn't have to be the next time you're on, but I would like to get you on here to review some movies with us. That'd be pretty fun. We'll all watch whatever movie and review it. Give it a good little breakdown. I'd like to hear your opinion on a movie, a director's point of view of a movie.
Yeah.
And I guess we can wrap it up. So Chase, you want to plug your?
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
Oh,
and
definitely.
I definitely would.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. No, I was gonna say, you can plug? Feel free to plug your social medias, your movies, anything you want to plug. And when you get a chance, send me the links to your stuff, and I'll post it on that page I was telling you about.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. You guys can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. It's Chase Nutley. Don't forget to check out my film Payday, which is on Amazon Prime and YouTube, and Amazon.com. It would be on platforms like iTunes in the future, but it's not now. You support indie art. I appreciate you guys listening.
Oh yeah, definitely support indie horror and check out his stuff. I will be posting it very, very soon on the page. Well, you're not gonna hear me saying this, but I'm gonna post it on the page after this episode. And thanks again for coming on, Chase. I greatly appreciate that. You're welcome on here anytime, man. Any freaking time.
All right, brother.
Have a good one.
Nice meeting you, man. It was great. It was fun.
You too.
Matt, you want to plug your stuff
Sure.
before we close it out? Go ahead, man.
If you haven't checked out on YouTube, my YouTube channel is You and Your Horror Movies. Pretty much movie reviews, movie collection updates, anything horror, it's on there. So it's You and Your Horror Movies. I'm on Instagram, same thing, but without spaces. For some reason, Instagram wouldn't allow me to have spaces. So it's You and Your Horror Movies, all one word. And also, too, Cinema Attack. We're on the Horrorphilia Network, and we're also on our own Facebook group page called Cinema Attack. If you haven't, check it out, where we just talk about all kinds of films. So it's great.
Awesome. And as you know, ladies and gentlemen, people, I, Sir Sturdy, am on Facebook. You can find that, Horror with Sir Sturdy on Facebook. I have a group and a page. Check them out. Join the group. The group is pretty much anything horror related. You can share the page pretty much to help promote the podcast. So please join, and share both. As far as the platforms I'm on, where you can hear my lovely voice, you can hear me on YouTube. You can hear you can hear me on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, many more platforms. I'm out. I have a Twitch, Sir_Sturdy. And so again, as I said earlier in this episode, any horror fan is welcome. If you'd like to come on this episode, send me an email at horrorwithsir.sturdy. Again, that's horrorwithsir.sturdy@gmail.com. Let me know you want to come on the episode. We can review movies. We can talk random horror. If you have horror films that you do yourself, you produce in or act in yourself, send me an email. And again, you're more than welcome to be on this episode. You're on an episode, not this one, because this one's over with. And thanks for listening. Please rate, and review and share the podcast. That does help us all out. Same with Matt's podcast and any other podcast you guys listen to, because that really does help us out. We're not just saying this. It helps us get more views. It helps us, move up on the charts and all that. So please rate, share, and review on any platform that you listen to these podcasts on. Thanks for listening. And as always, I'll see you in your nightmare.